Please welcome author and journalist Eboni Williams.
Our next guest is a longtime leader on Capitol Hill and the top-ranking Republican in the House of Representatives. Throughout his long career in Congress, House Republican Leader Kevin McCarthy has been an outspoken advocate for pro-Israel legislation, as well as a driving force behind the scenes to make sure that bills are passed that promote the safety and security of both America and Israel. For years, he's been a senior member on the trips that Israel takes many freshman congressmen and women that's sponsored by AIEF. That's the educational component of AIPAC. It encourages members of the House to see Israel up close, firsthand, while they can understand the challenges and threats facing the state of Israel, both Republican and Democrat. He joins us tonight to discuss Congress's work to further strengthen the relationship between America and Israel. Ladies and gentlemen, join me in welcoming to the stage our honored guest, House Republican Leader Kevin McCarthy. Thank you. Thank you, Lord. Thank you. Leader McCarthy, you and the entire Congress has been consistent in their support of Israel's right to defend herself. However, tragically, this morning we all heard of the attack coming from Gaza, from Hamas. It was actually the third rocket towards Tel Aviv in only 2 weeks. What's your message for the caucus today and our audience here tonight?
We will always stand with Israel first and foremost, so everybody understands that very clearly. But my first message is to the audience is thank you. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your passion. Thank you for your support. AIPAC should never be boycotted. AIPAC should always be celebrated. I know in this audience we'll have different political views. We'll come from different places. But there is a bond that unites us, the bond between Israel and America. You know, Ronald Reagan, I want to paraphrase what he said one time. He said, I know your organization doesn't rate members, it doesn't endorse, but I endorse you for what you do. And at no other time do I believe it's more important than now. We should not take for granted that this bond and that everybody understands why a Jewish state should exist and needs to exist. I watched what happens in the region. Hezbollah's work with Iran, building 20 times the amount of missiles. We just talked today of what's coming from Gaza. Or over on Syria, with the work with Iran trying to put a permanent base, and their look to try to take Golan Heights. In the 70 years, now is our time to speak, now is our time to stand, and not back up, but lean in. Our friend Mike Pompeo spoke. The scariest part that I've heard recently is the rise of anti-Semitism. He spoke of the Labour Party of Britain that used to be one of his strongholds for Israel, but now talks about Hamas and Hezbollah being friends and speaks openly of anti-Semitism. We look at the horrific action of what took place in Pittsburgh just in October. But when I heard language spoken in the own floors of Congress, I want you to know we did not stand silent. We moved a resolution, even as the minority party. I will make you this one promise. We will never let it stand. We'll never let it grow. And we'll try to crush it any place we see it. And we thank you for that.
Leader McCarthy, you alluded to it just now in your comments, that even amongst us in this room, coming from different political opinions, we might not all agree. Now, it would be a myth, we'd all be kidding ourselves to act as if historically Republicans and Democrats got along perfectly, right? But it does seem that in this moment across the country, it's particularly difficult for the partisanship to subside. Is there, and you have been a longtime leader in the Republican Party, let me say that. So is there maybe a part of the bipartisanship that is occurring that maybe we just don't see? Certainly, I think many of us are hoping that a lot of this is hyperbole. Give us a little insight on what the relationship is within the House of Representatives and in Congress, and also how you make efforts as such a strong leader in the Republican Party to get things done with your Democrat colleagues.
The day I became leader, I went to Steny Hoyer. And I said, we both lead the tour to Israel. Since I've taken 148 members to Israel.
Amazing.
And of the Republican freshman class, 3/4 have already pledged to go this August. And we're going to get them all done. But I went to Steny and said, Democrats go 1 week, Republicans go 1 week. I know it's difficult to make us all go at the same time, but let's change it and overlap for a couple days. And that's what we do now. We overlap for a couple days. We may be of different parties, but Steny Hoyer and I work very great when it comes to Israel. Our staffs meet together, we work together, we travel to Israel together. We have a friendship and we have a bond that I believe we both understand. But I'd be lying to you if I said that it's bipartisan in this Congress. I was embarrassed. I was embarrassed of the last resolution that had to be watered down. I was embarrassed that they split it. And let's not make excuses for what language people use and say they don't understand. That will get us into a mistake. That will put us into problems. And I will be as bipartisan as the next person when it comes to Israel, but I will not, it's not partisan when I stand up for Israel, because I stand up for the love and the bond that this country has and the understanding of the democracy, the liberty. We have a common bond. We also have common enemies. But we should never let that split us in Congress, and that wise we should not let the parties determine when we stand up or where we should stand up. We have been bipartisan before, and we should come back to it.
A follow-up on that, Leader. Earlier in this session, actually, we were able to bear witness to a coalition, a small one, but we saw several freshmen, congressmen and women, representative of both parties. Tell me what that felt like for you to see that. Does that give us some optimism in even this Congress that that type of work can still be done?
It gives us optimism, but let's not have false hope. I have never heard of an organization that wanted to boycott us here. I have never seen the language used that I heard just this past month. And I've never seen that we had to question to water something down.
Are those outliers, though, Leader? What do you think?
There's outliers if we stand up, but let's not get a foothold of all the bipartisanship, all the unison that we had before, all the times we spoke with one voice. And I believe we can keep it that way. But if you stay silent, it won't. We have seen history, this happen before. But we also see what being strong, that we could come back together. And that's why I do have optimism.
Absolutely. Thank you. I want to look now to Israel's northern border. When you visited Lebanon and Syrian border, what did you see just from being there, taking it in, that needs to be done to make sure that Israel stays safe, particularly in that part of the region?
You know, this is why it's so important for members to see firsthand. When we go to Golan Heights and you sit there, you know, it always said a picture speaks 1,000 words. You do not have to point out where the border is, because you could tell the border from the green farms into the vast desert on the other side.
Yes.
You can tell what someone does with their land and someone does not. The last time we were just there, you would hear the gunfire on the other side within Syria. But being there, you understand. Everyone understands the power of having the high ground. We can never give the high ground up. The world is safer because Israel has Golan Heights. The community is safer, and it's more prosperous because of it. And I'm proud of our president standing there today with the prime minister. You cannot have peace without Israel in charge of the Golan Heights. Simple.
Speaker McCarthy, Leader McCarthy, rather.
No, you can say
I
that.
can say that.
I can hope. I can hope.
Absolutely. Let's talk about BDS.
Yes.
Obviously, an attempt to delegitimize Israel. I want you to tell us all what you would say to BDS advocates that in some way think they're doing something good, but instead are exactly that, undermining and delegitimizing Israel and really enhancing the danger in the region.
It is appalling to what they are saying, of trying to equate Israel with something they are not, equating it, saying it's Nazi or other elements that are just so untruth. It's not about coexistence. It's about coercion. It's the very worst element that we see. And we cannot let this get a stronghold. And the fear I have is when I go on college campuses, when people don't understand what they're even saying. That's why we should speak with one voice. That's why I'm proud of what the Senate passed. I'm proud of what Lee Zeldin co-sponsored. But this is when you're walking the halls, is what you have to express. This is what we need to pass. This is where we have to make our stand. Look, I like Ronald Reagan. There's one thing that Ronald Reagan said too. You like it too. I don't know why you're so far right. You are always one generation away from losing your democracy and freedom. One generation away. And if we allow this spoken on the colleges, people become older and they think it's acceptable. They believe the lies. This is why we should speak very strongly in Congress. And I will tell you, on this side of the aisle, you'll have 100% vote standing up against BDS and standing up for the truth.
As they stand up. As they stand up. As they stand up. Ladies and gentlemen, please join me in thanking the top Republican in Congress, Leader Kevin McCarthy. Thank you.
Thank you for your work. Thank you.